China in historic transition. Challenges and risks abound. China's problems are daunting. Slower growth, social imbalances, industrial overcapacity, massive pollution, global volatility. How to address such diverse, complex issues? China has an overarching integrated strategy. It's called the 5 major development concepts: innovative development, coordinated development, green development, open development, shared development. How can China coordinate policymaking, infrastructure construction, environmental protection, technological innovation, and industrial transformation? In this episode, Closer to China explores the second major concept, coordinated development. China's single-minded focus on economic growth, necessary at the time, generated inevitable problems, especially imbalances across geography, sectors, and classes, such as between urban and rural, eastern and western. Moreover, economic competition among provinces and cities encouraged inefficient allocation of resources and exacerbated industrial overcapacity. That's why the Chinese government has designated coordinated development as a prime policy to optimize economic transformation. Regarding coordination, perhaps the largest exemplification of this is Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei provinces working together. This is an area that you've worked in. What is the basic theory behind it, and how is it being implemented?
The development of urban agglomeration is about how a series of cities can achieve synergic growth. According to theory, at the beginning of a region's urbanization, large cities would benefit most. They attract quality resources and factors of production from neighboring areas, which will serve as drivers for growth. This means that in that phase, the development of large cities is at the cost of neighboring areas. The latter lose their growth capacity and lag further behind.
These are some of the most poverty-stricken areas in China, and the harsh natural conditions make the ecology fragile. To eliminate poverty in these regions has become a prime, though daunting, task for China's central government. And coordinated development plans, such as the Belt and Road Initiative, Jingjinji Regional Integration, and the Yangtze River Economic Belt become essential for China's future. Coordinated development means addressing and reducing diverse kinds of imbalances and disparities. It means integrating the developmental planning of richer and poorer areas, such as rural regions of poverty on the outskirts of major cities. And it means less developed provinces such as Gansu and Guangxi partnering with more developed provinces such as Zhejiang and Guangdong. Nationally, coordinated development means comprehensive regional initiatives, integrating multiple cities and provinces, such as the Yangtze River Economic Belt and the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei province urbanized region. I've heard about coordinated development in China for more than 15 years. It's a good basic principle, but why is it today even more important than it has been in the past?
When we first brought up the concept of coordinated development, it was targeted at the problems of a regional economy. During the time of a planned economy, China adopted a balanced strategy for regional development. After the reform and opening up, we started this imbalanced strategy. After some time, a regional gap widened. In the middle of the 1990s, we raised the concept of coordinated regional development. As time went by, and as the level of development increased, you can see that the meaning of coordinated development has been enriched.
How many different big categories are there of coordinated development? If you list the specific elements of coordinated development, what are the big ideas?
I think that coordinated development involves many aspects, but our focus is on 3 areas: regional coordination, urban-rural coordination, and the coordination between social and economic development.
和社会发展的协调。
About a 3-hour flight southwest from Beijing lies the prefecture-level city of Luzhou. Lu stands for ports along the river, and Zhou is an ancient administrative division. I just arrived in Luzhou in Sichuan province in central China. It's early March, but it is really warm. I think I'm overdressed. Luzhou is a wine center in China, but there are new opportunities in the future because of geographic location here. Situated at the junction of the Yangtze River and the Tuojiang River, Luzhou has been traditionally associated with rivers and boats. During the Tang Dynasty, Luzhou thrived. Foreigners in large numbers came to China with exotic goods, foods, and ideas. Luzhou was one of the gates of this great pathway of exchange, the southwestern part of the famous Silk Road. Merchants from abroad would carry their goods overland to the Luzhou port and then ship them down the river to save time and expense. Luzhou is located at the intersection between Guizhou, Yunnan, and Sichuan provinces, on the Yangtze River, and only 2 hours from the great metropolis of Chongqing. This enables Luzhou to emerge as a center for regional coordination. Luzhou is known for its baijiu, its liquor. I'm not much of a drinker, but it's really good. And it's here that baijiu was first produced almost 450 years ago, and it's been in continuous production here. But now, Luzhou must expand. Despite its baijiu business, Luzhou remains a third-tier city. In 2015, its per capita GDP was about 31,000 yuan, or about $5,000. That's about 30% of Beijing's per capita GDP and 60% of its neighbor Chongqing's per capita GDP. It would seem that an increase of coordinated development by the central government, such as between competing provinces, is a move back to the planned economy. Shouldn't you let the market take care of some of the allocation of resources rather than planning it centrally?
Perhaps it is easier to understand it if I put it this way. The market plays a determining role in resource allocation, which was made clear in the third plenary session of the 18th Central Committee of Communist Party of China. But the market cannot solve all the problems. I think scholars from every country would agree on that. A market has its externalities, for instance, the environment. A market might be able to deal with that in theory, but in reality, we cannot find any such example. Or the development of poor areas. I think the EU has such policy issues. And as for transportation infrastructure, some might not pay back in the short term, but it will bring benefits in the long run. To promote development, the Chinese government put forth a slogan called, "Do you want to be rich? First, build roads." That means connectivity brings wealth to the region. Today, 3 national expressways connect Luzhou and its port with the metropolises of Chengdu and Chongqing, with the cities of Jiaotong, Zunyi, Nanchong, and Leshan, and with the neighboring provinces of Yunnan and Guizhou. Container trailer trucks are common on these highways. In addition to the coordinated development in an economic sense along the Yangtze River economic belt, Luzhou also plays a position in its role with 2 of the poorer provinces, least developed provinces in China, which is Yunnan and Guizhou. So how do you work in a coordinated way with provinces whose GDP per capita are some of the lowest in China?
我们和周边呢，也是地域相连嘛，人脉相通。
We're in close touch with neighboring areas and we have a number of personnel exchanges. Jiaotong in Yunnan province, Bijie and Zunyi in Guizhou province, and we, Luzhou, are all in the Chishui River basin. We're on one side, while they're on the other. Our integrated plans focus mainly on infrastructure, especially transportation infrastructure. Our highway to Chishui is already finished. Now we are building another to Xishui. And we also have one going to Bijie. Next, we will build highways to Weishan and Yunnan. From Xuyong County to Weixin, we will have 4 roads. We're also planning on building the Chishui Bridge, so the transportation infrastructure is important.
For the city to achieve its targeted growth, transitions have to be made, and people have to adapt to new lifestyles. Li Tsai-min was once the captain of a ferry boat on the Yangtze River in Luzhou. In bygone days, each day 400 to 500 passengers would cross the river. What was it like in the old days when the ships were very active and thousands of people using the port? What was life like then?
Everyone crossing the Yangtze River seems busy. Some cross the river for work, some for grocery purchases or other shopping. Whatever their purpose is, these ferry takers make this place a bustling market.
But with the construction of a bridge, there's no need for ferries, and Li's life has changed. Do you miss the old days?
Of course, back then, everything was completely different. With the completion of the Yangtze River Bridge, there are no ferry boats anymore. Cars and buses can take passengers directly across the river. As passengers fell in number, the ferry boat business was forced to close.
Li cannot forget his last voyage across the Yangtze River. Do you remember the last time the boat sailed? Do you remember that moment when you knew that was the last time? How did you feel?
I was on the last voyage, from beginning to end. The last voyage that evening, the last before the business was shut down. I was on the boat all the time. Suddenly, there was no boat for me. It had been decades long. I felt empty, more or less, and had some disappointments. I had been doing that from before the liberation to the 21st century, and the business was shut down. I felt lost.
The boat is docked, as if waiting for its next voyage, which never comes. From its decorations, one can still see its past glory. And every morning, Li still goes to the boat to take care of it. So that's very different than the way it used to be when you had dozens of people when the ships were active transporting people. So do you get lonely, or is it a different experience?
It has been more than 2 years, almost 3 years, since it was shut down. Now I have gradually accepted it. When the business was first shut down, and when there were not many people around, I felt lonely. But now I have gotten used to that. Life is good. You can walk around, and the TV, the entertainment, they're good. I don't feel lonely anymore.
Li Tsai-min hopes that Luzhou's coordinated development will attract more people to the city, and he can turn his passenger boat into a tourist ferry. For Li Tsai-min, life in Luzhou is intertwined with water. For Luzhou, water is essential for coordinated development. Luzhou is a major port on the Yangtze River and the largest in Sichuan province. The Yangtze links half of China, and the Yangtze River Economic Zone connects more than 10 provinces and 2 of China's major metropolises, Chongqing close by, and finally at the sea, Shanghai, China's economic engine. Due to its geographic location and situated on the Yangtze River, Luzhou is transforming itself into a water transportation hub. And at the center of the grand vision, the inland Luzhou port connects the city with the rest of the vast Yangtze River economic belt. With 6 3,000-ton berths, the Luzhou port has an annual cargo throughput capability of 1 million containers, or about 3 million tons. Making Luzhou a transportation hub as part of coordinated development is exceedingly important. What are some of the policies that you would like to have to increase Luzhou's capacity to become a transportation hub on the one hand, and on the other hand, isn't there some competition among some of the other cities on the Yangtze, for example, Chongqing? Isn't there, sure, cooperation, but isn't there also competition?
In the State Council's document on increasing the building of an economic belt, Luzhou is a nationally important regional traffic hub. Luzhou is among the country's first transport demonstration cities. It already is one of the 11 cities. We are already a demonstration city. In terms of the railway, airport, and waterway construction, the government gives us many preferential policies. Our waterway is being upgraded from third class to second class, so there are many preferential policies. That will offer great support for the building of our transportation hub. Compared to Chongqing, the shipping hub in the upper reach of Yangtze River and a national-level central city, it has a large role. Luzhou is a small regional center under Chongqing, the only border city of 3 provinces and a municipality. It is a regional transport hub and a national-level comprehensive transport hub. The levels are different. Hubs of different levels constitute a hub system.
From emerging powers to expanding partnerships, from fighting poverty to combating climate change, booming economies, war-ravaged nations, and everything in between. We capture the changes affecting the most dynamic and diverse continent on the planet, taking you beyond the headlines to the people and their stories. Asia Today, delivering Asia to the world.
As Luzhou has made its way to connect with other Yangtze River cities, the port expanded and flourished. Yuan Jun has witnessed the changes firsthand. He has worked at the port since its establishment.
In 2000, farmlands were everywhere. There was no port. We were carrying out basic construction. In 2002, we started Phase 1, where the foundation and the first gantry were built. After that, we started Phase 2 and built the second gantry at the upper reach of the foundation for Store Yard 3 and 4.
Today, a tax-exempt zone is being built next to the port, so export goods can get tax refunds as soon as they reach the port. Yuan Jun sees no end to this developmental trend. With the development of the port, how have you seen the development of Luzhou?
The building and development of the port has contributed to Luzhou's domestic and foreign trade. The port drives the logistics of the whole city. With it, Luzhou is now the first in Sichuan to have a second-class shipping port. Now the city is a hub for waterway, rail, and air transportation in its truest sense.
Life on the port is intense and regimented, but workers have to expect the unexpected. As a cargo ship comes into port, so do raindrops. Damp weather poses difficulties. This is especially true for dock captain Chen Jiaqi. Chen's job is to supervise the loading process. When cargo ships come into port, he's the first person on the dock to greet the captain and to make sure all containers are loaded for their correct destinations. Any miscalculation could lead to logistic disaster. Fortunately, for more than 10 years, he has not made any significant errors. Where do most of the containers come from? Sichuan province, the surrounding areas? Do any come from the some of the other provinces near that is next to Luzhou, like Yunnan or Guizhou?
We mainly serve ships from Sichuan, including Chengdu and West Sichuan, such as Panzhihua and Xichang. Also some from Yunnan and Guizhou.
Yeah, describe what happens here at the port with the containers. How many do you upload each day or each year? What is the process?
When ships arrive at Luzhou port, they use the crane over and a bridge to lift the containers. The trailers transport the containers to our factory. The goods will be stored there and then transported to different cities and enterprises. We have ships that can go far out to the sea.
The Luzhou port has signed joint development deals with the Wuhan and Nanjing ports to explore transshipment possibilities. Cargo goods from the Luzhou port could reach as far as Korea via Nanjing and Taiwan via Wuhan. Moreover, in 2011, the government spent 500 million RMB and built the first railway river combined transportation system. Cargo that reaches Luzhou by river can now be shipped directly to Kunming, Chengdu, Leshan, Panzhihua, and Xichang via railways. By connecting itself with the Yangtze River economic belt, Luzhou has seen rapid development over the past 5 years. As the city turns into a center for coordinated development, investors see opportunities. Zhang Kan's family business started in 1992 as a roadside workshop. Now, Zhang and his family own 70 automotive dealerships focusing on Western China. His company opened the first dealership in Luzhou in 2012. 4 years later, the company has 5 dealerships in the city and is planning to open more. So what are your plans, expansion plans? You want to keep focused in Western, more underdeveloped regions because that's your expertise, that's where you're from, and that gives you a competitive advantage?
We have dealerships in the coastal area, but our future, I see our future in Sichuan even more because Guizhou is, we have dealerships in most of the cities in Guizhou, but Sichuan is, the market in Sichuan is a lot bigger, like Luzhou, Chengdu. These cities, we see a future.
While Luzhou has attracted outside investors, its development is also nurturing surrounding regions, especially rural areas. About a 2 hours drive south of Luzhou is the prefectural city of Chishui in Guizhou province. The city is named after the Chishui River, which runs 500 kilometers along the border of Guizhou and Sichuan provinces. It was here that the Red Army of the Communist Party of China, during its long march in 1934 and 1935, crossed the river 4 times in order to escape the pursuit of its enemy. Wang Debin owns a food processing business in Chishui. Mushrooms produced in surrounding mountains are picked, washed, marinated, packed, and shipped. Luzhou is one of the factory's primary targets.
Our enterprise is sited in Guizhou, but we have close ties with Luzhou because our goods are shipped to the rest of the country via Luzhou. I see great potential for the Luzhou market because Luzhou was our primary market when the factory kicked off, and now our sales volume in the market has tripled.
In the past few years, when China's development focused on GDP figures, economic competition among provinces and cities resulted in redundant allocations of resources and exacerbated industrial overcapacity. Now, with a focus on coordination, the government is hoping to put an end to such inefficiencies. Traditionally in China, provinces have been very competitive with one another. Due to promotions and GDP growth. Have you witnessed, as a result of the initiation of the 5 major development concepts, more cooperation than you've seen in the past?
What I feel is that competition is a drive for development. The competition between provinces, between regions, I find that good and necessary. Besides, there is now more cooperation. For instance, Luzhou and its neighboring cities are cooperating better in infrastructure, industry, environmental protection, and exchanges. The fields are expanding, and there are more measures and practices and more results. Provinces are signing agreements on cooperation. For instance, Sichuan is signing agreements with Chongqing, Yunnan, and Guizhou. There are more exchanges. We tell each other what we want and what areas we need support in. We're all working on that. I think since the 5 concepts were raised, the cooperation between provinces is far more and deeper than that which we enjoyed before.
For the mayor, coordinated development means integrated planning between Luzhou's urban and rural areas. And it is this inner coordination that is even more challenging for the government. What do you think are the biggest obstacles that you face specifically on coordinated development? What are the problems you're facing now, and how do you see them being solved?
During the promotion of coordinated development, as I mentioned, the problem is the imbalances in urban and rural development and the coordination of social and economic development. In urban and rural development is the weak link. In social and economic development, the former is lagging behind. First, we need to increase investment. That would require economic development to increase fiscal revenue and to accumulate wealth, so that we would distribute the wealth properly. I find eliminating poverty very difficult. We need large amounts of technological and financial investments, and a talent pool. It is very difficult. Under the requirement of the central government and provincial party committee and government, our priority now is targeted at eliminating poverty. We have already taken a series of measures. That is the area that I find particularly difficult. The task is daunting.
However important Luzhou is for regional development, it exemplifies the national significance of coordinated development.
I mean, what do you see in Luzhou that you think this is a good investment for the future?
In Luzhou, I think besides the Chinese liquor business, like Luzhou Laojiao and all the other factories, also we have the natural gas industry, also the production industry. But most importantly, I see in the future decades, I see the importance of this city as the center of the transportation for Western China, because it has a port here which goes directly into the Yangtze River. And we see Yangtze River is a thing which I was taught when I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I knew this is a golden river, and in ancient times, when we see water, we see life. Nowadays, when we see water, we see business opportunities. And I would say, some people say that Yangtze River is a dragon, Shanghai is the head of the dragon, and Luzhou is the tail of the dragon. And I see it as a train. 10 years ago, I would say Shanghai is the motor of the train, which is pulling the economy along the Yangtze River with it. But nowadays, we're turning from a conventional train to a CRH. So when we talk about CRH, it's not one train pulling another trailer. Each trailer has its own power. It powers up the train. Every trailer powers up the train themselves. So I think in the future, the importance of this city and the business opportunity that it creates by connecting Yangtze River altogether from head to tail, I think is the real potential for Luzhou.
What is it about the Yangtze River economic belt that lends itself so well to coordinated development?
I think it is easier to understand its significance in this way. The Yangtze River economic belt covers a huge area. If I remember rightly, more than 10 provinces and municipalities. And the population makes up 40% of the country's total. So does its GDP. And this economic belt has a unique feature. It stretches from the east to the central area and then to the west. We all know that there are regional gaps in China, especially between the east, central, and west. The Yangtze River economic belt perfectly connects the three parts. And through the synergic development of the belt, the central and western areas will be able to quicken up their paces for growth.
I appreciate the national theory of coordinated development, integrating planning across provinces. But to see how it works in local practice, I've come to Luzhou in southwestern China. Because what's happening here addresses China's most serious problem, economic and social imbalances. Luzhou's strategy is to become an educational and healthcare center, as well as a transportation hub, in order to stimulate growth of the Yangtze River economic belt and to improve standards of living in one of China's least developed areas. Coordinated development is especially important for China, where provincial rivalries have contributed to industrial duplications and overcapacities. Similar risks remain. The challenge is to get provinces to cooperate as well as to compete in order to optimize development in the entire region. Here's where China's coordinated development will take shape and will be tested. We follow Luzhou to keep closer to China.